But first, a message from our sponsor. Comic books have come a long way over the years. They've always been wonderful works of art, but it took the public a while to catch on. We've also seen comics journey from a cheap disposable entertainment to hard-bound, designed with painstaking craft, and back again. And not only does the look of comics range from tiny folding zines with single images to 600-page epics and oversized artist editions, but the subject matter that these stories cover is infinite. Comic books, even American comics, were never just about superheroes, and genre type means less in comics than any other art form. The relationship between words and pictures is the essence of comics, and that is ingrained in the DNA of humanity. Comic books are world culture. From fun fantasy to entertaining education, there is something in comics for every person. In this show, we'll check out the comics that I come across in my own journey to becoming the cartoonist that I want to be. All of the books that you'll see were either purchased directly from the creators or in most cases from local comic shops. So when we find something that interests you, please head to your friendly neighborhood comic shop where small business owners and nice people are ready to help. But there's only one way you're going to find that perfect story.
Read more comics.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of Read More Comics. I am your host, Scott O. Green, co-creator of I'dRatherBeDrawing.com. And with me today are 3 beautiful comics. First, we have The Big Me Book by Tom Van Dusen. Then we have It Will All Hurt by Farrell Dalrymple. And then we have Crescent City Monsters by Newton Lillivois and Giancarlo Bernal. Once again, hope I'm pronouncing everybody's names right. If anything this show is teaching us, it's that I can't pronounce things very well. All right, what are we going to jump into first here? What's going to be front and center? All right, that's what I thought. The Big Me Book, front and center. Me, me, me. All right, let's crack this one open and take a look. All right, so once again, The Big Me Book by Tom Van Dusen. I believe I picked this one down when I was in the Seattle area. I'll try to remember from now on, since I'm doing the show, exactly where I'm picking up which books to let people know. It may have been from Push Pull, I'm not exactly sure. But I do know that the size and the cover just called to me, and it was something that I didn't know what it was about. I didn't flip through it too much. I just kind of loved this and loved the idea that it was an auto-bio style comic, and I thought I'd give it a try because I hadn't read many of those. To my delight, it was a bit, different. Like I said, I haven't read a whole lot of auto-bio, but I loved it because it was deliciously outlandish. Look at that beautiful beast there on the left. I know, sexy. So it starts off with a great sarcastic dinner between a cartoonist and his family, and just kind of how awful that can go. This was just a really weird. I guess I kind of needed something that was absurd and vulgar, and all the things that maybe you're not supposed to laugh at, and I don't know. It hit my funny bone just right. And it is an autobiographical comic, but there's some over the top parts of it, ends up a talking cat that grants wishes, so there's a different element to everything that does make it a little bit larger than life, unless, I don't know, maybe this guy just lives a very eccentric life with very eccentric cats. Who knows? But like I said, it's inappropriate, it's sarcastic, it's just a lot of stuff that works great in comic form. So it's kind of a dirty Sunday funny type thing. And but it is still witty, it's still funny, I like it quite a bit. I'm definitely going to be searching out more. I love the kind of simple grid story pattern, how well it's used. Even in this kind of absurd nature, different things like this. Don't want to give away too much and everything, but the beats that are required for humor, certain story beats, you just need those, and it can work really great in comics, or you can just totally miss the mark. And Tom Van Dusen knows that rhythm of comedy and comics really well, I think, and is able to do quite well with that. Like I said, I think there's a bit of self-loathing that goes in with this. He definitely presents himself like mostly a huge dick, points fun at himself, and I would guess this is a very I don't know how accurate of a portrayal this is of the cartoonist himself, because it kind of feels like he's just turning himself into a huge caricature of a Seattle artsy cartoonist type guy. One element that I think is really cool about this, being a person who's new to the Washington area, visiting down in Seattle, and you hit some of the tourist spots, and just now that I've been going down there enough, things are starting to look familiar. So on this scene right here, it starts off with International District, Seattle, Washington, and I recognize that street. So I think it's really cool, like the bit of realism that is mixed in. Obviously, it's a very cartoony interpretation of himself and of other human forms and things like that. But the table feels solid. The chairs are solid. The cityscape is solid. He really kind of gives everything a gravitas, so a world that it can really kind of exist in. Kind of on the cartoonist side of things, but I think that works well. Sometimes when you have sort of whimsical, fun characters like these, they can appear more like they're sort of floating in space, or people don't really worry about the background so much. But I really enjoy the care to the scenery that he puts in. So it's a lot of fun to see. I know that he's got a lot of good work out there. I got on his Instagram page and was kind of scoping that out. So hopefully I can run into this guy at some shows and tell him how much I like it, and find out for myself if he's a huge dick or not. Because the cartoon character of him in this comic is quite hilarious. He definitely doesn't prop himself up as some sort of hero or anything like that. But please check out this comic, see what else he has to offer. Really good stuff, very talented cartoonist. The Big Me Book by Tom Van Dusen. Remember, all those links are below, so if you want to check out the work or purchase it, you know where to find it. All right, moving right along. What do we have? Ooh, all right. Going from magical wish-granting cats to something weird. Yeah, I know. All right, let's take a look at this one. Is that not a beautiful cover? I love this so much, I kind of want to hang it up. So I got this one based off the cover. There was two of them there. I didn't know which one was book one, so I took it up to the front, secretly hoping that this was book one, so I could for sure at least have this one on my shelf, no matter how much I like the book. Thankfully, book number 2, I'm coming for you, and you're going to make a great pair next to this one, because it was so much fun to read. I did get this one at Comics Place, my local comic shop in Bellingham, Washington. I took it up to the front and asked the guy if he knew anything about it. He said he loved Farrell Dalrymple, said it was one of his favorite cartoonists, and had I ever heard of something called the Wrenchies. And I had heard of that, but I know nothing about it. So this is my first venture into this artist's work. And he said with that, I should know that, I forget exactly how he described it, but it's very kind of dreamscape, kind of stream of consciousness, goes from one thing into the other, just kind of a stream of ideas, and not exactly linear. So if you're looking for just kind of concrete storytelling, this is something a bit different. It's a bit out there, I suppose. And as you can see from a lot of the images and the cartooning, it speaks to that. So it is something a bit out of the ordinary. Something I love about this book, besides just the cover, is you crack it open, the pages on here, they almost even look a little bit yellowed. It seems like a for real newsprint. I don't know exactly what kind, but even nowadays when you get matte finished paper or kind of quote-unquote newsprint, it's still pretty thick. It's almost a cardstock. This feels like the real stuff, where you can almost see through it once in a while, but comes out crisp and clean with these watercolor effects on this. Kind of cartooning style reminds me a little bit of maybe like Matt Kent, Jeff Lemire type work. Sort of a loosey-goosey but perfectly tight. And usually I find when you have a rough around the edges thing like that, to cartooning style, it's probably a lot more effort going into that. Oh, the colors just kind of spill out here. The lines just sort of go over there. I don't know, maybe I'm just romanticizing it, but I'd venture to guess that that's a little bit more of a conscious decision at times to make it just sort of seem like just whimsical things. This is obvious storytelling, the hair kind of blowing out of the panel, little things like that. Doing a lot of interesting things with not keeping your normal panel grids. Going back again here just for a moment, I also really enjoyed, with this sort of stream of consciousness flow of everything. Here, just even mixing the dialogue right into the panel with the artwork, not even so much separating it with thought bubbles or word bubbles or anything, but it's really just part of the same thing. Speaking even more to that idea of a dream where everything just kind of melts together, what you're seeing, what you're hearing. It kind of doesn't make sense, but does make sense. And maybe to somebody a bit more cerebral, a bit more intelligent than me, they would get this. They're like, oh, this is totally a metaphor for... I don't know. I don't know all that, but it sure was very interesting to read. I'm excited to kind of pour through it a bit more, just to kind of decipher storytelling techniques and ways of doing the art, because it's just beautiful. And the character design, there's some extras at the back of the book that are really cool. And you get some cool robot designs for Robot Todd. I feel like that's got to be, these got to be like Wrenchy's characters. I don't know for sure. Like I said, I don't know anything about it, but the imagery of these characters and all these things here, all of this little extra tinfoil on the side there, hanging with a big broadsword, I don't know. I don't always understand it, but it's so visually intriguing and stimulating that I have to keep turning the page. I want to know more. So I'm definitely going to be picking up more of this artist stuff, including the second issue of this book for sure, and see how far that goes. I know very little about it, but like I said, isn't this 2 pages, wordless panels, and I feel like I could just stare at these colors and those lines for quite a long time. So I highly recommend this one. It's definitely a dive into the weird, but you won't regret it. Weird comics, good. Alright, last but very not least, when we're talking about beautiful comics, we've got a great one up next. Alright, let's see it. Perfect. But don't be shy. That's right. Issues 1 and 2 of Crescent City Monsters. This is a book that I supported through Kickstarter, and I'm so glad that issue 2 is here. The wait is over. Alright, let's dig into these. Alright, so first off, this is one of the most beautiful, truly indie books I've seen in a long time. I know indie means a lot of stuff, but anymore I think of it as the little guy who's struggling to put each book together and get it out there, doing everything themselves, their own publisher, their own publicist, getting it out there in stores and running Kickstarters to get it out there. This feels like the little guy with great big ideas. So once again, this is written by Newton Lillevoix and art by Giancarlo Bernal. I'm probably butchering your guys' names, and I do apologize. No disrespect at all, because this work is amazingly beautiful. First off, get a really good look at that. Already, it's got superhero elements to it in this type of artwork. It's got monsters, it's got everything you need, magic, but from a different side of culture than I'm used to. So it's down New Orleans sort of style. We got kind of what feels like voodoo and hoodoo. I've grown up loving blues music. This is kind of like 1963, so blues into rock and roll. We've seen Ray Charles and Fats Domino. So it's just a great time period, a great look. Motorcycles, beautiful guitars, beautiful figure drawing in this. And what's really cool is whether it's just human figures and different characters that all look dynamic and strong and just really well done, then you get the really eccentric, strange stuff, you know, like snakes coming out of mouths. How does that not work amazing in a comic book? But really, this story and the art, it's hard to kind of vocalize because I feel like it's just firing on all cylinders. What's really cool about this is sometimes from a person who's, you know, the little guy trying to get their ideas out there, it's almost like the comic is sort of a second best to, they always had a movie idea, or they always had a script, or this other thing. And I don't know what this person has planned, but what's cool about this book is it doesn't feel like one of those. It doesn't feel like a story where the comic was second best, so they're really just trying to tell the movie through comic book form. This feels like an amazing comic story that works great for kids like me that grew up loving music and learning about music, and grew up loving comic books and superheroes and monsters and all that stuff. It just really throws it all into the mix from somebody who loves the medium, and an artist who's, just stellar. So like I was saying before, you have all this great figure drawing wonderful like motorcycle and mechanics, and that stuff is hard to do in comic books. Jim Rugg, one of the guy who gives the marching orders from Cartoonist Kayfabe at the beginning of this, kind of is in love with motorcycles and comics. So, man, you got to check this one out. But then also seeing the monsters that are designed. It's one of the grunge leaders. But it's just so dynamic and great. It's gross. It's scary. Like I said, it's kind of hard to put into words. I don't want to flip through everything. I don't want to give everything away. And it does kind of time hop. So just for the split second, I was somewhat disappointed when I found out it wasn't necessarily staying in the same place and time forever. But once you see the story and what's unfolding, man, you're just along for the ride and you just want more in whatever capacity. So yeah, and I'm kind of jumping around here, but like I was saying before, where some books kind of feel like they really wish that they were a movie, but hey, I'll settle for a comic. This is a comic that works great in comic form, and man, I would love to see this on the big screen too. All of this character, when you have ravens and you have owls and they're speaking and there's magic, like I said, this just has so much to offer. I highly recommend it. I don't want to give too much away. These people have worked so hard on this book, and you can tell that. It's a labor of love for sure. I'm going to show you how to get in touch with these folks down below and all these comic books because, like I said, I'm just a big fan. I don't know if any of these this week you'll necessarily find in your local comic shop, but you will find independent racks and indie books and strange books that don't fit in the normal boxes and on the shelf. And search those out because sometimes you're going to find amazing stuff like these books here. But these ones are a cut above the rest, I will tell you that. I've never seen anything quite like this from the different indie folks that, me and the friends that I know. This is just on a whole nother level. And I think you guys really need to check it out. Yeah, I want more. This is just a flash preview really quick of book 2. Just that sequence. Instruments are so hard to make perfect with ease. This whole story is just beautiful. I can't wait for you guys to check it out. Alright, so let's see. What do we have here on this week's episode? Crescent City Monsters, It Will All Hurt, and The Big Me Book. Alright, it's Wednesday, which means new comic book day at your local shop. Ask them about these books. You never know. Maybe they can order them in. Maybe if you love them, you can say, hey, comic shop owner, you need to support this guy and order a whole bunch of these books to put on your shelf here. I love it, and I think all my friends would love it, and we need more of this type of stuff. We need more than the big 2 or the big 2.5. Good indie books are out there. Good underground comics. So search them out. Spread the word. If you have books to recommend to me, please let me know in the comments field below. And if you get a chance, sign up for that newsletter link below that I have. We're going to be doing a free t-shirt giveaway midway through October to everybody. We're going to do a drawing out of everyone signed up for the newsletter. It'll be an I'd Rather Be Drawing t-shirt. So if you'd like to support us, sign up for that newsletter. If you'd like to support amazing artists, just click on some of those links down below. I think I am going to take a week off before my next episode of Read More Comics, just so I can, get more comics read. I want to make sure to keep this one going. I'm having a lot of fun doing it and showing you guys the books that I'm reading, and I hope that you start making episodes of what you're reading so that I can get inspired by you guys. So thanks very much, and thanks to these amazing artists for putting great work out there. Until next time, read more comics. If you don't know already, Cartoonist Kayfabe is a huge inspiration behind this show. After all, it is the marching orders set forth by Jim Rugg and Ed Piskor, along with Tom Scioli, that gave rise to this segment in the first place. Cartoonist Kayfabe on YouTube is essential for comic book readers and aspiring cartoonists alike. It's the comic book show that the creators are watching. Anyhow, thank you Professors Piskor, Rugg, and Scioli. The education is appreciated. Find Cartoonist Kayfabe's link below.